All right. Then as a first topic, I was thinking, let's look at the upcoming 14.10 together. So I briefly looked at, where are we going? And I thought I'll just create a small table with themes coming up for 14.10. And I've noticed that in the past, this has been very directed to, what's in engineering. And maybe we want to continue doing it that way. But I was thinking maybe we put more clarity on, what are we doing in the different areas? So I added also, that merge strategies is now in design, and probably documentation work might be something that we want to start in the 14.10. I'm not sure, I'm just putting it here as an idea. And then also that I could, for instance, be starting looking at code owners. So there are millions of tickets around code owners, and I could start looking into what is there and what kind of problems do exist, and kind of make small piles and do that basically at the front end of everything. Does that make sense for you guys, this approach, and also the content of what we want to do in 14.10?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense to me, Torsten, and thank you very much. And just to mention, you said about how previously this was, engineering driven. That's something I'm really happy to move away from, and we were, as we mentioned, as I discussed in our one-on-one today, we've just had like one after another engineering allocations, and I'm sure that everyone will be really happy to get on to doing feature work. So thank you very much.
Okay, good. Then more about the content. So I already said I will look into code owners. Then Mike has been looking very long time on merge strategies. Let's talk about that in more detail in the next topic. And I think it's maybe also now the time that Amy, you involve yourself there. We already had a talk with Nick about this, so I think it makes sense. You already mentioned, the weaknesses in our documentation around merging in general. So I think it makes sense to start there. And then FIPS compliance has been ongoing and will continue to have to be worked on. Some things will slip, and likewise SSHD. Right, Sean? These will both slip 14.9. Some things may be released, some not.
Yeah, look, FIPS was always going to be a bit of a optimistic to make 14.9, but it's going to slip quite a bit by the looks of it. And SSHD, we're making good progress, but it's definitely not going to be finished in 14.9.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then finally, we talked about this morning, Sean, is there are a bunch of security bugs that we need to look at. I've started trying to understand those. So maybe I can even make those things linkable so that we understand what are the different things, but I'm not there yet. So
Sure.
Right now it's only a text table. Yeah, so much about that. I'm not deeper in the weeds yet that I could talk more about this. Any questions, comments, proposals?
I have some doc-specific questions, but we can hold those to the end.
Okay, how you like. But, we can now go however you like. The next topic that I would propose is now merge strategies. And maybe it's part of that question or that part of that topic? Okay.
It is not.
Okay, let's then let's continue with merge strategies and then come to the docs related questions.
Sure.
So I have shared, and especially Nick has shared, the ideas around reorganizing the merge strategy options. And basically there are two approaches that we can take. One is like an incremental one, where we, you've read what I put in there, right? And the other one is the all-in-one. So Kushal already commented that he would like to have the all-in-one. Sean, have you had the time to look at this? And can we make now a decision which way we should go, incremental or all-in-one?
I'm happy to go with what the group thinks. My opinion is that we might want to, that it's a very big change, and and so I'm sorry I took so long to do this, but I just put some comments in the issue just before this meeting.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's not, no, I'm the one that's sorry. So, but my thoughts are that it is a big change, and so if we it seems like we have a clean split to do incremental, so I kind of like that idea. The thing is, there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is that this is a huge improvement, and I'm really glad we're doing it. But the UI change is not insignificant, and so that might require some user education or some way to make that transition easier. I love all the diagrams that Mike has done about how the different options work, and so we're adding quite a lot of different options. I can really see that I can see a large documentation effort here, because I think that we should capture that information somewhere in our documentation. So while we're adding what seems to be a simple feature, it actually adds a lot of stuff. So that's why I'd be inclined to go slowly if possible. And I don't know if this is too much to ask, but I think we have some way to do what's it called? Not feature flagging, but when you expose a feature to a small group. I forgot what that's called, but
Percentage rollout.
Say it again, Amy?
Percentage rollout.
Yeah, but yeah, like if we could do perhaps a percentage rollout and get some evaluation on it. I don't know if we take that strategy at GitLab, but
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one thought, and the other thought is I think the way this is planned is that the existing functionality of the additional commit will still be the default. So I wanted to confirm that, but also if it isn't, then it's a breaking change, and we would need to go to a major release. So that would make an argument for leaving that in. Yeah.
So we're not intending to remove that.
Okay, because
I could see us. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, Justin. Because the way the UI has changed, so that's fine as long as the functionality is the same and is still the default. And then we could, we could deprecate it, right? We could say that in 16, the additional commit will no longer be the default. But I think that will be a big change for our users. So we should kind of do that slowly.
Yeah, can I ask about that default? So when we change the default, is it in the system that all the defaults, that all those that have set default will change, or we can actually decide to keep them on what they chose and change the default, right, without breaking anything?
Yeah, I mean, but we've seen to it. Yes, is the answer. But yes, we've also modified the way that the configuration page looks, and so I think we need to make sure we default the same behavior, even though the settings look a little bit different.
Okay, good.
Thanks for capturing all that, Amy.
Okay, and so I hear you, Sean, that basically you're also in favor of incremental because it's a big change, and you're also saying we should consider also the percentage rollout, right?
Yeah, I guess they're two separate things. So the incremental, the thing is, if we try and do it all as one big change, we do have a way of doing that. So we can put the code in, we can feature flag them as off. The issue with that is sometimes things change in our direction, and this will be a multi-milestone effort. And if this happened with another feature about a year ago, where the feature is still 90% completed, merged diffs, but it's still not completed. And because we did it all as one big piece, there's no feature. Whereas if we can split it then we could at least deliver something. And then if something does change, well then, okay, we've delivered the first part and we'll come back and do the rest later or something along those lines. And then, and then percentage rollouts is we let some small group of users have the new functionality in order to get feedback from them.
Okay, Amy is proposing instead of percentage rollout to have a feature flag and the customer or user chooses opts in.
I'm aware, I totally get why you want the percentage rollout, Sean. And the problem is if the user doesn't have a way to, if they can't revert back to the old way and the new way doesn't work for them, that just smells like a grumpy support ticket to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think we have this, I don't know, beta or something. I don't know what it's called, but is that what you're proposing with this feature flag? Is that what it is?
You know, do we, I don't know if we may have, I don't know if we have the option for users to toggle their own features. Like,
okay, I'll find out.
We do allow doing it, but not from the user's perspective. It is we do not expose any toggles with regards to feature flag on user settings side. So largely it would be the admin who's in control. So generally what happens is if they are on SaaS, then we just enable it for their group on GitLab.com. And if they are self-managed, then our support team works with their ops team to basically have it enabled on their instance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess whatever we do, we're going to need probably a lot of education, blog posts, etc., because it is, you know, it's a big visual change, I should say. But I despite having said all that, like, I'm also happy to go the opposite and do it all in one go, if that's what the rest of the group want to do.
Tactful question: is this a breaking change? You know where I'm going with this.
I think it's not a breaking change.
Okay.
I think it's not that was my question. I think it's not a breaking change as long as the default is still the same behavior as before, which is the same behavior being that we have the additional commit.
Okay.
I could even imagine that we can change the default and it still not be breaking change. As long as those that have already set it, it doesn't change that setting, right?
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. A new project, for sure. Yeah.
And that would be certainly nice that we, but in the future, you know, it doesn't default to the one that we think isn't, you know, loved, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so Amy, you're also in favor of what I read in favor of the incremental approach?
I would feel better with a feature flag that the users can, that administrators can make a decision on. Without getting into the weeds, it is difficult to handle exceptionally different user flows in documentation if the user can't choose which experience they get.
Sorry, when I meant incremental, I meant, so it's not about who gets to see it. I meant how we implement it. Do we implement it in two steps? First step is just add the squash functionality, the proper squash. Second one is to add more freedom to for the admin and also for the merger to choose that merge time, right? So these are two different needs.
Gotcha.
And we could satisfy them at different times. I see that in my superficial view of this is, I think it's the most pain for you, Amy, the incremental one, because in the middle you have some. Okay, good.
the actual concern that I have, I would really like this to not land in 15.0 because
not gonna happen.
Okay, good.
Yeah, trust me.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is a multi-milestone feature.
Okay. My reasoning for that, by the way, Torsten, you were not here when this was announced. I'm going to be the lead technical writer for
Yeah, I was there.
15.0.
I remember
Okay,
now.
good. Yeah, I'm going to be a shell of a person for 15.0.
Yeah. I was hoping that maybe we could do the squash for 15.0, but yeah, I have no sense of, the other things. Okay, good. But we kind of agree, and I think this is important for Mike and also for me. We agree on the incremental approach, because this is then we can progress with this one, right? So we're going to say, okay, this is the design for step 1, this is design for step 2, and then from that on we can work forward. Okay, we all agree.
And Mike had proposed a number of an issue breakdown in one of the comments. So I just also added a comment that we probably need at least one additional issue solely for documentation, because normally we'll do documentation as part of the work, but I think we need a special page to explain all those lovely charts that Mike has done.
Yes.
I think so we might also put that on a blog post, but we should have a special page somewhere. Yep.
And that refers back to the issue for me to find out if Mermaid's support for Git graphs is as promised or as experimental as they say. Because if I could do graphs instead of needing someone to do images for me, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. Everyone would love that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so any other topics? Okay.
Amy, thank you so much for getting that MR merged with the endpoints.
Of course. That thing had gone way past MVC.
Yeah, well, that was also, me. So, and I just sat on it for a while. So, Torsten, I've done a merge. I'm on a kind of mission to increase the technical documentation for source code, which I'm mostly doing myself because I don't want to burden the engineers with it. And so it should be up there soon, I guess. It's been merged. I guess it'll be built soon.
Check.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. We have a lot of endpoints in source code. So all of our endpoints are actually named which group they belong to. And just to get an idea of how much we have, we do have a lot. I think there's 100 or something endpoints, which is an incredible amount.
So the documentation that you're speaking about is not the documentation for users of GitLab, but for those that want to integrate with GitLab in some form or fashion?
Yeah, it's for users, but it's for technical users. So, because remember our users can also contribute to the product. And so we have, I think we call it developer documentation. And so there's a whole lot of stuff on there that's, it's not really for end users, but it's for people that might want to, extend the product or of course, GitLab employees.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's been 6 months or so that I started that. We finally got it merged. 99% my fault, though, I've got to say.
All right, that's great. Okay.
Yep.
No more topics, then.
Well, I do have the docs question for.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I waited till the end. Sean, I am going to be looking for direction from you about a timeline for when you want the workhorse and the GitLab shell documentation to move into the main repository. From your previous comments, it sounds like GitLab shell will take longer for reasons.
Yep.
but talk to me about what we're looking at.
Yeah, sure,
here.
absolutely. So first of all, Amy, so the answer is up to you.
Okay.
So I would like this to happen, but it's been sitting out there for years, literally. And I know it's kind of a big job because we need to not only move over and clean up the markdown documents, but then it's going to need to go through pipelines and all these things, right? Yeah,
that's my job.
Okay. Yeah, there's no pressing need. We can do it as we want. We can certainly do it very incrementally. And yeah, so GitLab Shell is more complicated because we're adding in this major piece, GitLab SSHD, that was supposed to be merged, but it's not. So yeah, maybe workhorse is a good place to start. I think what I've noticed so far with those docs is they're very bare, and they're also probably quite out of date.
Okay.
Yeah. So part of the driver for this is I have a new team member joining. Who announced this? There's a new team member joining Source Code, a new engineer, and joining Source Code on the 12th of April. Yay! Cool. And so there'll be 5 backend engineers then, and I am actually interviewing another person tomorrow that they look great on paper. They've passed one interview already. They were great in the first interview, so they're a possible second new engineer. So part of the reason for this is to give them something to work with. But in general, it's I myself have trouble. I'm rambling. Let's go back to the start. To answer your question, there's no timeline on it. We can do it whatever milestone makes the most sense.
Okay. Yep. So I'm doing a quick tally. Looks like a total of, it's currently split across 7 pages. It may in fact be smaller than that. I'd have to read through. My inclination is to ask that we call this a deliverable for me for 1410. Not necessarily because of your needs, but because of what I'm aware is coming.
Okay.
And that's for another group. GitLab Pages is being transferred over to Editor.
Yay!
Yay! And so any small projects like this that I can wrap up and make go away, now's the time.
Okay. Completely understood. So, so 2 points. One is I previously worked on Pages as an engineer.
Oh, bless you.
If I can help in any way, please let me know.
Oh, probably.
And the second one is I think that's great to target 14.10. If it becomes difficult, we just bump it out. It's fine.
Thorsten, let me get you the URL for the issue because Sean created that yesterday. That way we can account for it on the page.
Yeah, let me add it right to the page.
Sure. I'm in a weird situation here where I'm downstream from your deliverables, but sometimes I have deliverables of my own. And I like to surface those whenever possible.
Absolutely. See, crucial.
Notes are in, link is added.
So I'll add this here to the table as documentation is the category, theme is technical documentation on our source code APIs.
Yep.
APIs, and the purpose is that customers can better contribute or better contribution experience. And it's mainly in documentation, right? All right, good.
Okay.
Technicals got a missing an N or something.
It is.
Spelling is not my strong point.
That's okay. It's what you have me for.
All right, good. Then
that's all I have.
Great. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.